All right. Hey, Brian. Thank you for meeting with me today. Wanted to go ahead and just talk to you a little bit about who Brian Casella is. I know a lot of people know who you are because they explore your YouTube page and you've got lots and lots of followers. But I wonder how many people really know who you are. I've been fortunate enough to be part of your Modern Success group, and I feel like I've gotten to know you a little bit better and understand even more than what I was able to explore on the surface level from YouTube. So I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions just to maybe get some insight and go a little further for folks that don't know you or are not part of Modern Success.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Paula. Let's do it. I want to go into my deep, dark past and you can dig stuff up.
All right, cool. Well, I don't know if it'll be deep dark, but we'll see. So first of all, if you just give like a little background of where you started. I know you talk a lot about on YouTube your basketball and how you started your career doing basketball. That was kind of what you longed to do even as a small child, right? Like real estate never came to mind.
Right. Yeah. I grew up, my dad, so my family, the way my family works is I'm the first one who was born in America. My family's all from Argentina. They're from South America. My parents actually met here through a mutual friend of theirs.
Mm.
So I have two older brothers from my dad's side. So when my dad got together with my mom got pregnant with me. Then my two older brothers came right from their mom in Argentina to here in the US to be with my dad. And that's kind of how our family started. I was raised in LA, and not the best parts of LA, but that's where we had our home base. We didn't have much money or anything, and from early on, because the sad part is my dad played soccer professionally.
Oh,
Right?
really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now he had to cut it short because he started young at 14, which is unheard of over there. But he played
Wow.
goalie. His dad, my grandpa, dies when he's 14. So he has to stop playing and take care of my grandma, his mom, right? So he grows up, right, and leaves his dream. So he raises me, obviously, playing soccer because he can kind of relive his dream through me. And I don't really like soccer. Like I'm playing, I'm pretty good at it, but I just don't have like a love for it. And one day I started playing basketball at like age 11, and I just kind of fell in love with it. And that's how all that started. So he noticed within a week or two, he's like, you know what, dude, just stop playing soccer because I can tell you don't want to. You seem to love playing basketball, go play. And early on, I just took a very studious approach to basketball. I wouldn't say, I mean, athletically, yeah, I can say I was gifted. I wasn't the tallest at that time, but I was very hands-on with basketball. I wanted to learn. I was absorbing everything like a sponge. I really wanted to be good at it. And that's kind of a mentality I adopted as a child. Was anything I entered, whether it was basketball, my parents put me like in Boy Scouts, even though I didn't like it, regardless if I enjoyed the activity or not, I wanted to be good. I wanted to get the trophy. I wanted to be number one. I wanted to, get whatever the goal and prize was, right? That was just kind of the mentality that I developed. Even if I played video games, I wanted to win. I didn't want to lose. And I just kind of built up that drive in me from a very young age. And so, going through my whole basketball career, if we fast forward college, professional, I get injured for the first time. I get a surgery for my left ankle. I'm out for 3 months. I play another year. I injure the same ankle again and have another surgery. And this time I'm out like 5 or 6 months that I can't walk. So by the time I take my cast off, my leg is like just a bone,
Oh my
right? It
God.
was like a femur, like it looked like a zombie apocalypse. It was
Oh
disgusting,
my
right?
God.
But at that point, I can't really clear physicals anymore. Mentally, I'm afraid of getting hurt. So that's kind of why I decided to stop playing basketball. And I was like age 24, which is prime for basketball, right? A lot of players play until their 30s.
Yeah.
So I'm devastated. And when I come back home, I'm kind of like depressed, but at the same time, I feel like, well, there's nothing else for me. I dedicated my life to basketball. I only went to school because of basketball and scholarships, never really paid attention, right? I got my degree, but
You didn't have that plan B
yeah, no,
at the
not at
time.
all. So after a while, I was like, all right, I got to get my stuff together. And that's when I started looking into things and just hanging out with friends who had businesses, taking a look at different things and actually experiencing it. Like I would go with them to their job for a day or half a day to get a feel for it. And that's when I stumbled across real estate, and I put the dots or connected the dots very quickly because I noticed, I was like, man, this is genius for somebody coming in because low cost to entry. You have no boss. It's not corporate. It's not 9 to 5. you know, you get what you produce, right? If you sell 10 houses in a month, you get paid for 10 houses. I was like, man, this is brilliant. So it kind of dawned on me in the meeting with the broker. And immediately I look around, I'm like, dude, how come nobody's working? Like, you know, we're here at like 10 a.m. on a Monday and like the office is empty.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me this is true and I can make this kind of money and it's not that difficult. Where the hell is everybody? And he's like, it's just the mentality in the business. People are like lazy. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm signing up, dude. Because if I come in with that mentality that I forged for so many years in basketball, I'm going to tear it up in this business because who's going to stop me?
Right.
And that's really how it started. It started mentally being in the right place and being willing to do whatever it took. Not necessarily to be number one in the world at real estate, but just to do very well in it. And that's kind of the attitude I've always carried and had in regards to everything.
Do you think you got that sort of that determination and your grit from your dad, being that he was, you know, had that athleticism in him as well? Because you see a lot of athletes who have that natural born, you know, grit, I guess you could say.
Yeah. You know, I knew a lot about my dad. I knew he grew up, you know, and pretty poor. You know, he got in a lot of fights too, just because of where they lived there in South America. And, you know, he worked really hard. You know, I would hear the stories about him trying to run his own business there, but it's very corrupt, right, outside of the US. And, you know, you get your money stolen, you get robbed a lot. And it's difficult to run a legitimate business and not have the government put their hands into your cookie jar. Mm-hmm. So hearing what he was doing then at the time when I was growing up, my dad was almost never there because he was a truck driver and he had long trips. So I'd only see him like, you know, 2 nights a week for those, you know, first, I don't know how many years. You know, my dad wasn't even there when I was born, right? Because he was on a trip.
Right.
So seeing how he immigrated here with not much money and how he did it, it definitely did put something in me to work harder too, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then the other part of it, I believe, was forged just in sports. But it's tough to say exactly which one was which, because part of it came from my family probably, and then the other part came from just the desire to be good at the sport. But which one is heavier in that case, in that formula, I can't tell you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, is there someone when you got into real estate that you kind of resonate with, you know, that I know you read a lot and, you know, obviously you followed people. Who would you say you resonate most with, whether it be an athlete or somebody an entrepreneur themselves?
Yeah. You know, it's a little different now, right? YouTube really wasn't crazy like it is now.
Yeah.
I had always originally, when I joined that Century 21 office that I started at, some of the agents there that were doing well had studied with Mike Ferry and did his coaching too. And when I started listening to Mike Ferry, I really vibed with him because he was just a very blunt, direct, in your face, like shut up and get to work, which
kind of like
I enjoyed. Yeah, right. I enjoyed because it was more like me, but at the same time, I never liked the people that were about the fluff and, you know, trying to be too nice to people and pat them on the back, because there's a time and place for that. However, you can't always be that way. And I believe it's a detriment to people's development when you are that way. And I remember coaches, right? I had a lot of coaches who were super hard on me, but I knew in the end it pushed me. And they would tell me, you have a ton of potential, dude. That's why I'm pushing you harder than everybody else. So I know that squeezes every drop of juice out of people when you push them that way. Not to the point of being ridiculous, but you get what I'm saying, right? You push people, you hey, dude, you got to do this, you got to do that. So I just really resonated with that because it was also simple. So this guy is saying it's not easy, but it's simple. I can just take what he's saying and do it and apply it and have success. Well, what what better place than to start now, because I don't have the experience. I don't have a background in it. I hardly own a suit that I have to borrow from my dad that doesn't even fit me. Let's do this thing. And I really liked it because it was simple. You could do it, actionable steps. And it wasn't all this fluff that you see nowadays where they try to sell you a 63-point system on how to be a millionaire.
Right.
And it's all BS, you know?
Absolutely. Now, when you started in real estate, you were in your 20s, correct? You were like late 20s?
2013. So I turned 27 in 2013 and I got my license right after that. So I just turned 27.
Okay. And how would you say, I at least as a female, you start to sort of discover yourself probably in your late 30s, a little bit more so, recognize who you are. And even now, I still don't 100%. Yep. But, when you're in your 20s, you definitely don't know exactly who you are. So coming into real estate and becoming an entrepreneur, at the age of 27, and having that mindset, sort of, that grit and that, mindset to just do whatever you have to do to get it done. How do you think you've evolved from your 20s into your 30s? How has your mindset grown or, changed?
Tremendously, because I think by the time I hit 30 or early 30s, probably 30, 31 is when I hit that point that you just described, like really finding myself. And that's really when I came into my own and really morphed into we can say the mythological version of myself, right? That's like the upgrade, like the Zeus version of me,
Yeah.
right? Because it's more, I believe, of a process of getting back to how we were as kids. When we're kids, we're not already bombarded with all this woven in belief system of how we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to act, and our imagination gets almost destroyed, and we get broken down, I think. So I think it's more of a matter of reconnecting with that, of being free again, thinking more freely, thinking more openly. When you're a little kid and you ask like a 4-year-old, what do you want to be, and they say astronaut or a knight, whatever they say, right? In their mind, even if in that moment you try to impose a limitation, they're not going to accept it. They're like, no, forget you. I want to be a knight. I want to be so that, a lot of that, if you really pay attention to a lot of the stuff that's taught, we're trying to get back to that. We're trying to get people to
Right.
see possibilities and believe in what they deem to be impossible. It's merely getting back in the state of being untainted as a child with your mind.
Right.
So the process for me, I noticed in the discovery of myself, was more just shedding away things that you thought were supposed to be a part of you that are not,
Hmm.
which in turn allows me to express myself more freely and not care what people have to say about me. Because the kid, the kid that's 4 doesn't have a concept of being embarrassed yet. They don't know what that is. That doesn't happen until middle school, because people make fun of you, or your parents tell you this and that. He'll play with his toy car in the middle of the street with a million people there watching him. He won't care. Versus as an adult, you're like, oh my God, there's a million people watching me. I'm nervous,
Right.
right? That
Right.
doesn't happen with a little kid. So I
That's
just really
true.
think it's about, my perspective is getting back to that state of being like a child again, in the sense of you have no limitations and you don't have all these extra things put on you that are filtering the way that you think and see the world, when at such a young age they see possibilities and this magical place, and we see, oh, I'm working a 9 to 5, this is boring.
Right. And it's amazing because even now, as you've evolved in your career, you have even more eyes on you, but yet you care less and less, or not that you care, but you just don't worry about what other people think,
Yep.
so that's awesome. And then when you started evolving in your business, you then started with your mentoring program, which is how we met. And that's really has grown tremendously. But what got you to kind of, I think I see you as a very good teacher. As you know, I was formerly a teacher. So I see you as an excellent teacher. Um, growing up, you wanted to play basketball. You didn't want to be a teacher. So what had kind of gave you that shift to start teaching others about the business and entrepreneurship and what you do?
Yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Well, it's one of those things that as you evolve, you start to see, because you change, right? You may have a goal right now that a year from now you don't want that goal anymore, or things change in the sense that you've accomplished it or you can accomplish it, but you want to pivot and go this way.
Mhm.
So teaching with me, it was, I would say, twofold. Number one was just the sheer demand, right? In the time of my beginnings of my evolution, I was naive enough to think that everybody was engaged in this and bettering themselves, and they know all this stuff and they're getting the results. And very quickly I realized, okay, they don't,
Mhm.
right? So kind of born out of necessity, I wanted to do it. But the other part was, again, twofold. Number one was, man, when I teach something, I notice that my level of understanding of it and mastery increases. So it helps me as a practitioner of whatever that I'm teaching is. And at the second point, I've done this enough now of helping customers and doing free speeches, that now I know I'm getting good at it. I'm getting better at it, right?
Mhm.
And it's a skill that you refine over time. And it started at a necessity with working with my transaction coordinator, right? Working with other agents, where I had to step up and be a leader and start teaching or doing a class for my brokerage. So it evolved from doing it, but then also seeing the opportunity to help a lot of people and also level up myself. So I thought, what better way to not only better myself, but a lot of people is do this, which is teach more. And I believe that the angle that I have is I look at things a little bit differently, And even the same traditional stuff, I tend to teach in a different way that it resonates more with people, because I've always been interested in people and the mind and communication. And how come when I say this person gets it, but when the other person says the same thing, that student doesn't understand, right? What's missing there, or what's the element that I have that allows that student to understand when the other guy said it a million times and he never understood it? So that started fascinating me too. So that's where my mind kind of went with this, because I was like, hey, I can do a great service to people. I can do a great service to myself. Everybody wins. We build a community, and then you build something that you weren't even aware of, right?
Right.
Like now the community is getting so big, and we're getting so many people in modern success, and just my brand in general is growing so big. It's cool because it's built on a foundation of giving value and wanting to help. And I do believe that great teachers, there's a lot of teachers out there, but I believe that there's very few people who are great and who are dedicated to being the best teachers that really want to help people. And they're not just in it for a paycheck or for recognition or something like that, you know?
Absolutely.
And that's another reason I keep pushing it too, is I want, you know, our crew and our group of people to be the next wave of teachers who are like the messengers and help people. I think that's incredible, because that's how we can pass down the knowledge and the skills to the next generation and keep bettering human beings in general, making them more conscious, and really just making sure that we evolve as a, you know, mankind.
Absolutely. I think what you just said is what sets you apart from so many others, trying to push out training and coaching and programs, and absolutely. Where do you see yourself going in like 20 to 30 years? Before you answer that, actually, I had thought about YouTube, generally speaking, not too long ago, in terms of the crowd. Like, I'm a little bit older, right? I'm obviously older than you are. And, my kids are very much, they watch YouTube. You have a certain age group of followers that follow you on YouTube. And I got to thinking, like, what's going to happen when all of these like YouTubers, quote unquote, kind of outgrow their, are people going to be 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, still following each other on YouTube, that same age group? Where do you see yourself growing with, YouTube, and with your coaching program, with your real estate business, 20, 30, 40 years from now? How do you see yourself evolving in the future?
Well, I mean, that's a great question, because part of it we know and part of it we don't know. Like, what's going to be the YouTube or the thing of the future, right? I mean, this
Mhm.
whole video craze, the social media craze, 10 years ago, if we would have told somebody this was going to happen, they'd say, you're crazy. So I know for me, definitely, I still see myself being involved with the real estate business and still growing it, because I do enjoy it. Not to say that I enjoy maybe some of the monotonous activities of real estate, like calling 500 people a day like I used to, but I still like being involved with it, because it's a business that you can hand off to somebody else and grow and evolve, that provides a good service, but it's also very profitable as a business too. And I think it's an essential thing, right? A lot of people, you can, really ruin their lives if you mess up a real estate transaction for them, right? They
Absolutely.
can lose tens of thousands of dollars. So it's very important. So I believe that we should have people who are very, very cautious and careful and precise still involved with the business. So I definitely see myself still involved with that. I know it'll be super big by then, like huge.
Hmm.
But for the teaching side, I don't know. I do see myself traveling a lot more in the future and doing more stuff in person. I
Yeah.
really enjoy. I've done so much. I know now it's kind of locked up because of the whole coronavirus thing. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think last year I must have flown out and did at least, I want to say at least 30 speeches.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
Florida. Like I went to Orlando. I mean,
Mhm.
I went to Australia. I went to the East Coast. I went Pacific Northwest. I mean, I went everywhere locally here, and I really enjoy that, because I feel like in person is the best way to get the message across and really affect people. So I
Absolutely.
definitely see that more as the front headliner speaking in the future, because I really enjoy it. And the way people leave that room is, you never forget the impact you leave on people, especially in certain speeches. Like, it just really rings to you, like the faces that people make and how they walk out, what they tell you after. It's really cool.
Do you remember the very first workshop or training that you actually flew to go do? Going from just being, a real estate agent, and then boom, you're invited and asked to go speak somewhere.
Yeah, the first one that I got flown out to, let's see, because I got paid for some locally, right? Those were the first
Mhm.
ones. First one that I flew out to, uh, I can't remember. It's either one that I did in Arizona or it's one that I did in Texas. I want to say it was one in Arizona first. But
That,
by then, Paula, you need to understand, I had done so many free ones.
oh, did you?
Oh yeah, I did at least 100 free speaking gigs before I ever asked anybody for a penny.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people don't know that. Like I purposely would ask brokerages, hey, can I go do a lunch and learn for your people? I did some stuff for the local association of realtors around here. There's a ton. I mean, I did a lot. I did speeches for car companies, car sales companies, just a bunch of stuff because I just wanted to get my name out there. I wanted to get more video footage and I wanted to refine myself as a speaker. And
Wow.
after 100, I was like, okay, I've earned my stripes. I've helped a lot of people. Now, if I have to step away from my real estate business to do speeches, I want to be compensated now. And that's how it started. And
Wow.
it's very simple formula.
That's awesome. Well, if you have one piece of advice for a new real estate agent that's looking to get the right kind of training, coaching, just making the right decisions to grow their business, what would it be?
Well, the first thing is a lot of people who get into this business or any business, the perspective has to be correct. Meaning, if I get a question, or I'm sure you maybe get questions now too all the time, is if I receive a question from somebody, it's always from the position of lack. I don't have this. I'm not old enough. I don't have any money. I don't know any people. I don't have any experience. It's always something's missing and you're trying to make up for something that's missing instead of looking at it from the angle of what's my opportunity here. So for the same person who would tell me I'm too young, I say that's an advantage because everyone else is sitting in the office with their feet kicked up on the desk and you're going to be out there hustling, right? You have no bad habits. You're a blank canvas. You can build yourself however you want and be a rock star in 2 or 3 months with great skills, but they don't see that. They just see what's missing. So the one piece of advice I would give to people is that there's other things I can cover right now, but that's the main thing. If you look at things from that different perspective of what's the opportunity here, what's good about this, and you answer those questions, you will do phenomenal because 99% of the people in this industry look at it the complete opposite way. Even if something objectively to most people is good, they'll find something bad in it. And I know you know that, Paula. I mean, it's just crazy, right? That happens everywhere, but especially in real estate. And aside from that, you got to get around a community of good people. You
Yes.
have to, right? It doesn't have to be Modern Success or this other person or this other person, but find who you vibe with, find who you like and get around them. Because when you become a part of a community like that, and it's so easy nowadays with social media. Wow, it's super simple. I mean, you have answers to questions, you have support, you have people you can count on. You don't feel alone. And a lot of people struggle because they feel alone. When you're part of a community, you're not alone. And that's the power in it, is you always have somebody who has your back.
Absolutely. And I want to say that I started in real estate in August of 2018 is when I first got my license. And I was still working as a teacher at the time.
Yeah.
But I went full time in August of 2019. And during that first year of kind of doing it as a second job, real estate, I had 2 different brokerage offices that I was at, and then finally made a switch to eXp Realty. And when I joined Modern Success, I have to say that was when I learned the absolute most. And it was not only because of your awesome teaching, but because of the fabulous collaboration in the group that we've had. I mean, I absolutely love it. And I'm so appreciative of everything that I've learned. So thank you for creating that.
Thank you, Paula.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Phil, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking a few minutes you have any ending words of wisdom?
No, I mean, I would just tell people whatever you want to do it. You know, as cliche as that sounds, I think that at the base level, that's what people are missing. They have an idea or a thought of wanting to do something and then they don't do it. You know, it starts with, well, this is the first one. Hey, Paula, I want to do this. What do you think about it? And they get people's opinions. It's like, dude, if you want to do something, just do it. Right. And then figure it out as you go along. Because in most cases, I shoot 10 times before I ever ask any questions. Right. And it's not a real gun. I'm talking about action that I'm taking. Right. And it seems to always work out. Is it perfect? No. Can it get ugly sometimes? Yes. But in the end, I'm moving forward and life is all about progress. And a lot of people are struggling so much with their fulfillment in life because the human psyche, the way it determines fulfillment for most people, for virtually everybody on this planet, it's progress. If somewhere in your mind, it knows that you're progressing and taking steps every day, then you're going to be okay more often than not. Right. And if you're taking action every day, you're feeding that part of your psyche. And that's really what it's about versus just sitting there daydreaming about what you want to do, and then you end up becoming more miserable like most people. So
Right.
shut off the Zoom, go out and get it.
Yeah, will do. Well, thank you, Bryan. I appreciate it.
Of course. We'll
All
do it
right.
again sometime, Paula.
All right.